Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Friday, we are back. Hannah is back from vacation in Costa Rica.
Do I have a vacation glow?
Always.
Not really. I look kind of tired.
I'm Kate Lincoln Goldfinch.
I'm Hannah Hembry Bell.
And we are Law Moms Out Loud.
Hey, we're here today with our very special guest. We only have very special guests.
True.
Farra Kober. Okay, they're like, okay, who's going to intro Farra? I'm like, I'm literally just going to say, this is Farra. She does really cool stuff. Tell us more. So, Farra, you want to try to reduce that awesome
Sure.
for us?
I'm happy to. I was so excited. I said hi when you guys started. Like, it's my own podcast. It's not. I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
So I am a marketing executive. I work at WeWork currently, famously known as the co-working company that has had lots of interesting headlines over the past many years.
To be honest, that's what I just thought when you said had all this stuff.
We have had a really interesting story, and it's I joined post many of the more salacious headline making events of WeWork's history.
No coincidence, I'm sure.
But it's been a really, particularly in the moment that we are in with the move toward hybrid work in a post-COVID parallel with COVID working environment, working at WeWork has been sort of an amazing place because it is so perfectly suited for the evolution that workplaces are going through right now, and really thinking about flexibility and flexible arrangements, locations for employees. So it's been a really fascinating company to be a part of. But in short, I work for WeWork as their senior director of content marketing. So I corral our case studies, our research reports, member stories, both for our website and all of our owned and operated social media platforms, webinars, etc.
Now, Kara, I put your name together. Do people do that, Kober and Farra together? I bet they do. I was like too excited. So that's not the only thing you do, though. You forgot the meat and potatoes.
The meat and the potatoes of the most fun part, I think, of my work life is something I do separately from WeWork, and that is I work as an interview coach. I recently, over the past year, established my own company. It's called Kober Coaching. And I work on one-to-one interview coaching and job career coaching and prep with clients from all over the country. And it's been fun because it started as a COVID maternity leave project. And it started only virtual, and now I'm able to meet with people in person as people are starting to come back and feel comfortable being in the same room together. But it's been a really exciting time and a great learning experience for me as well, to take what I've observed and personally gone through in many, many years of interviewing, both as the interviewer and interviewee in a corporate career, and use that to help people find the jobs that they love and land the positions that they're dreaming of, especially now in COVID with this sort of great resignation, empowered moment that a lot of people are going through and really reflecting on what they want in the workplace. Interviews and interviewing well is super of the moment, and it's been really fun to be of service during this time.
Well, and I think about, so I used to be a recruiter before I went to law school. So I recruited nurse practitioners and physician assistants. And in that experience, just my own personal experience, interviewing is one of those things in life that's pivotal. It's a little hinge that swings.
Absolutely.
And like other things in life, like becoming a parent, it's one of those things we just sort of show up to and like, oh no, I'll just kind of wing it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think for interviewing, I mean, maybe in law school, somebody taught a class about like how to do a good interview, but I think it's so interesting that it's so important. And people have so many stories about this, but don't put a lot into it. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I think it's easy to do exactly what you just said, to just sort of wing it. I know myself, I'll just talk. But interviews are nerve-wracking. You're trying to prove yourself to a future employer. And not everyone is good at improv. You have to prepare to be able to riff. And that takes practice, and that takes homework. And homework is not something anyone really enjoys once you're out of school, but it makes a big, big difference in how you present yourself and how you're perceived. And so it's worth taking the time to prepare. The other thing is, an interview is about getting to know a person, not getting to know a resume. If we were able to hire people based only on their past experiences, based on I was able to move the mark from A to B on X project, you could write that all down in a resume, and I could see it and say, yes, they've checked the box, they have the skills that I want, they're hired. But we don't do that. And the reason we don't do that is because work is a real life, living and breathing experience where people have to work together. And just because someone has the skills that check a box doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the right fit for every job that has those skills requirements. Interviewing is about, are you a good fit? How can I get to know you as a person? Do you and I have a similar working style? Do we have a complementary working style? How will you fit within the company? How will you fit within the team? And interviews are just as much an interview for the potential employer as they are for you, to evaluate whether or not you feel like you're a good match for that company and for the manager potentially that you're going to be working for. So interviews are so much more about getting to know a person and developing a relationship, or looking at the potential for a relationship, than the black and white skills. Are you qualified? And they're absolutely critical to an employment journey.
So, Farrah, what is the prescription for someone who's got some interviews coming up? Let's say their first interview is coming up with the company. They know they're interested in this company.
Yep.
But they don't know, the person who's supervising them is probably not going to be their first interviewer. It's a screening interview. What is the do this, not that, before your first interview prescription?
Well, number one, you always have to do your research, right? Do your research on the company, do your research on the department that you're applying for, do your research on who is within that department. It sounds daunting, but all of these things are readily available through LinkedIn. All it takes is a little bit of time. So understand what the company's goals are. Understand what accomplishments the department that you're looking to work in may have had over the past year, or what the journey of the company itself has been. Do a little research on who the hiring manager is and why you might be excited to work for them, so that you can point to specifics, especially in that screening round. A recruiter is going to be talking to lots of people. What will make you stand out is that you're not treating this screener as just one of many screeners that you're participating in. You've taken the time, you really care about this position, and you feel like you're going to be a solution to their problem. What are you going to bring to make this employer's life easier? What are you going to bring to the company to make the company more successful?
And I feel like, Farrah, on this point, it's so important. When I was part of an interviewing team in big law, I had that interview experience. And now as an employer with a small business, a small law firm, the people who show up and have just done a smidge of homework, I can feel like a 15 minutes went into this prep.
Mm-hmm.
What you're communicating, in my opinion, is you know how this game is played, and that you have enough judgment and foresight to play the interview game. Like, look, I wrote some little thing you dug up on my LinkedIn from 3 years ago. I don't even really care, but I care that you knew you're supposed to go find out what I wrote. And the thing that really as an employer kills me. I had a marketing position and I was interviewing students. So it was a PR intern position. Literally 90% of the college students who interviewed with me for that position, when I said, well, hey, have you dug in a little bit and take a look at the firm's stuff? Oh, no. You're here for a PR interview. And I literally can't swing a stick on the internet without seeing something that I'm into. I didn't even go on the social media channel. What?
Oh, I know. I know. It's such an easy miss. It's an easy thing to do. And it's something that people forget all of the time, especially folks who are really early into their careers. I was interviewed. So prior to my current work in brand marketing, I was in journalism for a long time. I started my career at NBC and MSNBC. And I recall a time I was interviewing for a social media producer, very lower on the totem pole. So junior employees were coming to me for a social media position on MSNBC. MSNBC is the cable sister of NBC. NBC is famous for the Today Show. Great. But two separate networks. And I remember someone coming into the interview and I asked them the very cliched standard question. So why are you interested in this position? And they said to me, because I love the Today Show.
Mm-hmm.
Which said to me, they did not know what job they were actually interviewing for because they had not taken the time to actually look and understand that MSNBC and NBC, while related, are two separate networks. The Today Show has nothing to do with MSNBC, the cable network, other than that it's a news program that sits under the same parent umbrella. Yeah, and immediately, that person becomes disqualified. And they could have avoided that by taking 10 minutes to go to the MSNBC website and look at what television programs were on the channel.
Mm-hmm. It just shows interest, right? And I was thinking when you were talking earlier about how the interview is about getting to know a person, I was thinking this advice could probably apply to making a friend, getting a date, right? Mm-hmm. Show up. And this is a thing that Kate and I have been learning this year is about focus on being interested, not interesting. Mm-hmm. And the notion, I know for sure the interview feels very different if the candidate is able to flip it and talk to you about you, the interview.
Oh, yeah.
Or interviewer, the one who's the question asking.
Yep.
And if they can flip that around, that level of a skill, because people feel good when they're talking about themselves. And that is the thing I'm looking for. Yeah. Your resume. If you're in the door, your resume is fine enough.
Exactly. It's done the work for you. I don't need you to read me what's on your resume. Mm-hmm. I want to know what's not there. What's in between the lines.
Well, and I think that candidates, in my experience, even as a recruiter and stuff back then, are focused on selling their accomplishments, which going back to OCI, did you do that on campus at UT?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just loved it. Ooh, all these new friends getting to go in. And that's sort of my natural way. But I think even if it's not your natural way, maybe are there some stock questions? Maybe we could suggest people, especially like if I saw one of the comments about sharing it with their college age daughter. So like if you're sharing this with people new or maybe who never really learned this skill, are there some stock questions maybe for people who don't naturally do it that they could ask?
That they could ask the interviewer?
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the way that an interview generally works is that, the interviewer will have a number of questions prepared, and they often will leave time at the end to say, or if they're a good interviewer, at least you would hope, they leave time at the end to say, and do you have any questions for me? And it's absolutely critical that you come prepared for that. Number one, same thing that we said at the beginning. If you don't have questions prepared, it shows that you haven't taken the time to really think about why you want this job. You should have questions. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. Right? So simple questions to consider would be, tell me about what the culture of this workplace is like. What are your expectations for me in this job 3 months down the line? What do you want me to have accomplished if after I've been in this role for 3 months?
Ooh, I have an idea. What's your favorite thing about working here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wrote down.
What's something you don't love about working here, right?
Mm.
It's really easy for somebody to tell you all the great things and to try and sell you on a place, but you really want to evaluate, is this the right place for me? So what's something that you think could be improved about this place?
That's really interesting.
What's something you wish was a little bit different?
Yeah, I wrote down, what does success look like in this
Mhm.
job, or how can I be successful in this job? That last thing that you said, Farrah, that really brings up an interesting point, because I think in this interview, both the interviewer is trying to determine about the interviewee, is this a person who's going to come in and fit the culture and be sort of a solutions oriented, positive mindset person? And the interviewee is making sure that I'm not going into this toxic work environment. And, if I have something to say about something that needs to change, that I'm going to be listened to. And
Absolutely.
It's like, how do you have that conversation without sounding like a negative person? Like, because I could imagine if you say, what don't you love about this place? That might come across as, oh, this is someone who's looking for
Sure.
the
I mean,
negative.
a different way at that could be, what challenges have you faced in this role? What challenges has your team faced over the past year? What are things that you would look for someone in this job to help you solve? Something I love to ask is, how can I make your life easier?
Ooh. My go-to, I'm going to give y'all my secret sauce, because I don't really intend on interviewing for a job ever again. So is if you were sitting where I'm sitting right now, what do you wish you would have known back then? I tell you what, every time they're always like, oh,
That's a good one.
It is a good one. And honestly,
That's
you
a good
get
one.
really good answers. Like, for instance, when I interviewed it, so in law school, there's something called OCI, on campus interviews. And it's this process. If you get good grades and you apply and everything, you get to go for the series of interviews. And I went to a minority interview fair. I got in. I mean, I'm as white bread as they come, basic white bee over here. But because I was a woman, I guess it counted. St. Mary sent me up there.
Sure.
And I went for one of these firms. It was a big law firm that one of my best friends, she ended up going to work there someday. But I didn't really qualify for the position because you had to go to like a super schmance school, like some of us at UT Austin or whatever go to, but they needed to fill their slots, so they let me in. And it was a bigger paying job. I would have had to relocate. It wasn't really an option, but I just went and like, whatever. And at the end, that was my question. Like, what do y'all wish you would known? And all of a sudden, these ladies had been interviewing all day long. One was big, pregnant too. I remember just thinking, poor thing, she is tired.
Yeah.
And I'm at the end of the day, and all of a sudden I felt them go whoop. I'm like, oh, she's got our attention. Looked at me kind of different. Like, who are you? Just a minute. And it ended up, so it was the end of the day, and I was kind of hanging around afterwards. I mean, I knew I wouldn't get, it's kind of out of your league to get that place. It was a stupid reason why, but it just was a fact. And one of them ran after me and said, Hannah, are you sure there's no like diversity at all in your background? Like your grandma?
Wow. Interesting.
They were trying to find a way to go back and sell me to their firm, like that I had some diversity component. I know it's because of that one question. So y'all
absolutely. Good questions can serve you, and bad questions or vacant questions, I think, can hurt you. The thing that is important to do after you've asked that question. Let's assume you're asking good questions. It's driving a good dialogue. You're actually getting some interesting insights from your interviewer. Geez, I'm having a hard time chewing on my words today. You should take notes, because using those answers in the next round of the interview is so, so helpful to moving you further down the pipeline. You should be learning from the experience with this interviewer, right? They're going to ask you back for the next round and the next round. You should be incorporating the things that you're learning from them into your answers the next time. You want to demonstrate. You want to demonstrate. A callback. Demonstrate that not only did you ask the question, but you learned something from it. You retained it, and it helped you with your upcoming answers the next time you meet them. Why is that important? Because it shows that you can learn when you're actually in the job as well. We never want to make the same mistakes twice. We don't want to ask the same questions over and over again. So demonstrate that you have capacity to retain and then grow.
And probably very subconsciously, it's going to mimic back to them their own language. They have their own cultural way of speaking, their vernacular within the company. And if you're already sounding like them, then picturing you sitting in the cube next to them or whatever is easier. So they may not even consciously think, oh, look what a smarty Katie is. She's learning all this stuff. They may just like, ooh, she already sounds like one of us.
I have a friend who works at Google, and they have peer interviews, and they rate the interviewees on how googly they are.
But I bet that's a thing, right? That's a thing. There's a cultural, can't really describe it, but it's a feeling that you get about a person. And also it's important to the two-way street of this is really important in relation to that, because you and them want to be in the trenches. There's going to be moments when you're in the trenches together. Like, even if it's not a toxic work environment, and there are plenty of those, let's say it's a standard great place to work. There are going to be hard days. There are going to be long hours. There are going to be times when you've been working all day long, and surprise, you've got to stay later than you expected. You've got a last minute deliverable, a deadline that you've got to do. Who are you going to want to be working with when you're in a bad mood? Who are you going to want to be working with when you've already been up all night? And you know what? Surprise, the meeting that you thought you had at 9 a.m. got canceled and moved, and now you have to prep for something else really quickly. Who are you going to want to partner with for that? You got to have someone that you've got to jive with, that you can communicate with, that your working styles feel good together, and that you can develop a real rapport and shorthand with. And that's what we're starting to test when you're in an interview that is going well. The best interviews, and I think you were getting at this, Hannah, the best interviews feel like a conversation, not fired off question, answer.
Well, and doing that takes a level of let your guard down a minute. Because I think people go in and they want it so bad. And I've learned in life, y'all already know this, the more that somebody thinks that you want something, the less likely they are to give it to you.
Well, it's like dating, right? When you feel like you're being chased, you're like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. So you have to have a level of, let's see, not a needy, I need this job, I got to have it, I want it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's going to get you all mumble in your mouth.
Absolutely.
And if you go in like, hey, things are going to work out for me one way or the other, either I'm meant to have this job or not. If I don't get it, guaranteed best thing. Every job I didn't get, oh, thank God.
Yeah, true.
You know, we know that. So if any of y'all are watching this and you're, you know, in your early 20s or something, and you feel like that's the job or else, like
I might still be at Arby's.
Yeah, I would literally
still
be a teacher. I would be a teacher in Lindale, Texas, or wherever, Jacksonville, Texas, where I interviewed and didn't get the job to be a teacher. Yeah. Goodness. So I have another, I have so many questions on this.
I know. This is good. No, go ahead.
Okay. Is the post-interview conduct. I have very, very strong opinions. So I go speak at St. Mary's to law students, and they know I give this lecture. So I'm just going to see if we think the same things, like basically, Farra, are you right or wrong?
Oh,
if you agree with me, right. Now. If you don't, you're just clearly wrong. But tell us your thoughts, would you, on post-interview conduct, maybe at the preliminary screener stuff, and then kind of like the big enchilada thing.
Yep. Always send an email to everyone you interview with. Always a thank you email, even if it didn't go well. Always a thank you. And in the thank you, find something specific that you can refer to from your conversation.
Yes.
Okay.
Always. You want to remind them of who you are, and you want to remind them of something that you enjoyed. If if you feel like this is a position you still want after the interview, something that you took away from the interview that was helpful, that was interesting, reinforcing that you're still interested in the position. If you're walking away from the interview feeling like, that wasn't really the right fit for me, it didn't go well, always still a thank you. And the reason why is because you never know who that person knows, who they're connected to. If this wasn't the right job for you, but you still come off as a good person, as a smart person, never know down the road where that conversation will take you. It's all about networking.
Can I say something about this? Because this is like one of my things. The way people leave jobs is also really important.
Critical. Never burn a bridge.
It blows my mind sometimes to see people that will do an amazing job for 2 years and then they'll ghost their company, or they'll leave, they'll burn bridges when they leave. And it's like, why people do that? This is one of my like,
yeah, I mean, I think that succeeding in the workplace is so much about relationship building. And so why burn a bridge? You never know who knows whose cousin is whose cousin, who worked with that person who was over here and now works here. Relationships are so critical to a successful and long work life. Careers are long. Mm-hmm. People circulate from one job to the next many times over in a career. And so maintaining relationships and leaving people with a positive memory of you is only going to help you in the long run.
Well, and on the post-interview conduct, like behavior, knowing how to act. For me, I take that and kick it up a notch. I don't really, for me personally, this is my own. Now I don't have a business with interview coaching, so y'all can probably just tell me to hush. But I love the handwritten thank you note that day, so that the date on that thing is the day of your interview. I still, when I'm doing me in my best version of myself, when I have a substantive meeting with someone or with a candidate or whatever, I'm going to sit down and write you a handwritten thank you note. This goes back to my sales days forever ago, when I would have any substantial conversation or just meaningful of any, maybe it was 30 seconds, but like something, I would get out a pen and a paper when I had the recruiting business. So I'd write like a note, like, Ms. Kober, so great to talk with you, blah, 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 whatever. And even if it wasn't like, I loved how you said you love dogs, I love dogs too. I didn't do stuff like that. Just like, it was a pleasure speaking with you. I so enjoyed our conversation. Look forward to connecting again in the future. Like a note.
Yep.
And that when I would go then call on the client in person to get their business, probably 95% of the time that thank you note was sitting out on their desk as a collection. So for me, if I get a note in the mail with the stamp and handwriting and I have to open it from a candidate, I'm like, game recognizes game. I see you.
So let me say, I agree with you. A handwritten note is such a great touch. I think it is important in a timely fashion, though, to send the email. And then if you have it in you, I think it is awesome to send a follow-up handwritten note. Snail mail takes longer than sometimes an interview process is going to be able to move. And so I want to know that you are interested, if you're actually interested, really quickly after we've had that conversation. So it's not necessarily in the next hour, but within 24 hours, send a follow-up email. And then for a gold star, send the handwritten note.
Yeah, I mean, and like, why not get the gold star? Do you want the job or not? I don't even understand this about people. It literally costs, I think, like about 50 cents for a stamp. And Target sells cards for like, I mean, on the clearance end, not much money. So here's the real pro tip. So say you're in, like, remember Law Mom World. So you're a law student and you go and maybe you fly to another city to have this interview. You sit your honey down in that lobby and you write it out with the stamp. You stick it in the mailbox in the city where you are, like literally anywhere.
Sure.
They will get it by the morning. Like mail goes in the same city in a day. So yes, you could send your note, but if you do it if you're in the same, now if we're like here to New York or wherever, God knows how long it would take to get a stamp letter up there. So I totally agree. But I just think, guys, look, if you want to, I mean, gold star, would you like these people to pay you money to do something you like? Don't you think you can write one little note?
But let me tell you something. I actually have had someone do the handwritten note for me who I knew was not going to get the job.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that I remember that person. I'm still connected with them on LinkedIn, and I have had follow-up meetings with them, and I have helped them connect to other people for different positions. And they were not right for the position they were interviewing for, but I do remember them. And they're someone that I will keep in touch with, and I'm happy to help if I can down the line.
I like what Farrah said. I like the 1-2 punch.
Yeah. Ooh.
The immediate email and the note. And there's a really cool website called Handwritten, where it's written with a Y, WRYTTEN, and you can go in and enter it all in, and they've got like an actual machine that writes, and so everything about it looks handwritten, but you can do it all online.
Pro tip.
Yes, but like for example, at my firm, we're 95% of us are not at an office. And so there would be the mail delay plus the delivery of scanning it and sending it.
Yep.
So I like the email. And I also want to add the, sort of the pre-interview tip and the pro-interview tip, or the pre-interview tip. The amount of people that we see who don't follow the application instructions, it blows the mind. And so, it's like, as an employer, you post the job on LinkedIn, you post it on all the places. Yep. And a lot of these software programs want to make it really easy for people to apply. But as an employer, that gives no indication of the person's level of interest. So we don't want to invest a lot of time conducting an interview, following up, chasing people who just clicked a button.
Sure.
So, for example, in all of our job postings, it says, please email your resume and a cover letter or an email about, why you're interested in this position to jobs@Lincoln-Goldfinch. And then we have this special little thing that's like, spell your name backwards in the subject line, just to see. It's
great test.
Yeah. Can this person, just follow basic instructions just to see if this is going to be a fit. And these are very simple things.
My name. In the subject, it would just be.
Hannah would get it. There's a cool word for a word.
Palindrome.
Palindrome. I was thinking, Hannah.
I didn't mean to cut off your story.
So my point is, just like, sometimes this stuff seems silly, but there's a reason for that.
There's a reason for it.
The person on the other end is trying to do this efficiently, and helping them out is a good idea.
Well, that, and if you can't follow instructions, it should be an immediate disqualifier, right? Like, it's similar to when you receive a resume that's full of spelling errors and typos.
Oh, right? I realized.
Read, follow instructions, take the time, do it right, because that demonstrates to the potential employer that you're someone that pays attention to details.
Yeah. So I realized after all of the OCIs for like my law school fanciness, whichever one is the most cum laude you can be, magna summa, whatever, I was that. I literally spelled it wrong.
Oh no!
I literally spelled that wrong the whole time. Like, I'm so smart. See, I can spell smart. So, oh my God! I saw that. It's so me. And like, I laughed because there was something, and I didn't get an interview at some place, and I was like, I bet that they saw my resume and I can't even spell whichever
cum laude,
summa, whatever. I don't even know what it means. One thing, like, I feel like for the prep part, the follow instructions part, the follow-up part, I often quote Judge Judy, that patron saint of law moms of the world. And she would say to people on her show, did you think you were going to a tea party? And like, that's the thing in an interview. Sometimes I'm like, hello, did you think you were going to a tea? And I just feel so mad. You waste my time, a whole hour and all this. And like, oh my God. So I think it's largely about showing, how this works. And that's like when my husband and I were very first dating, I laugh about this because he, sort of this thing. So I'm divorced and remarried. So I was like a grown up figuring out how this works. Like, well, you can't text back too fast. You have to do this. You have these rules. And knowing him now, I laugh. And I like, you were really doing the like rules. And he's like, look, it's not because you're trying to play games, but you got to show, you know, how this game is played.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting is that there are absolutely do's and don'ts, right? Like there are parts of this that are like, you got to know how it works. I agree with that. And then the other piece of it is that it's not a game. It's be confident in who you are. Know what you bring to the table. Confidence sells, right? Like I said previously, like come into the interview knowing why you're the solution to the problem that they have. They have an open position because there's a problem. They're looking for a person to fill it. Ideally, your interviewer is going into every interview hoping you're the answer to their problem. Mm-hmm. So if you can walk in confidently and explain who you are and why you are, it's a win.
Well, because I noticed in I don't know, some kind of notes we have on you or what
our pre-show. Look at how professional
we're so pro. Yunwin made us a paper about you. We have
you know what, but I have a tip on this on notes, particularly for interviews. Post-it notes are your friend. And they're great for virtual interviews because you can put them right there in front of you.
Yes. Ooh, love that. Mm-hmm. Well, one of them said, and I think this is so interesting, how you said that people need to be an expert in the story of themselves.
Yes.
And I 100%. Wish for you, what on earth are you meaning? How does one become that? Yep. And we're going to get out a pen and paper and really write down what you say. Okay. How do we become experts in ourselves? I feel like I've got an associate.
You need to create your own narrative. And if you feel comfortable in the story of who you are personally and professionally, truly that will prepare you to answer most any question that you're going to get. When I work with clients who are coming to me for help on interview prep, we start with narrative worksheets that seem so silly and basic. It's like, tell me where you grew up. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Tell me 3 words you would use to describe yourself. Tell me what you do professionally. What does your ideal workday look like? Then we get into more anecdotal questions that I ask people to just think on. Tell me about a time you were frustrated at work. Tell me about a time you helped a colleague. Tell me an accomplishment that you're proud of. And the important thing about these questions is that the stakes are removed from them, right? You find in an interview, sometimes they say, you know, what's the thing you're most proud of? What are your strengths and weaknesses? They feel really definitive. But if you've taken the time to reflect on yourself, answer those basic fundamental questions about who I am, write it down, write stories about yourself, you'll start to see patterns and connections between your answers that will allow you to have what I like to call personal toolkit that you can tap into and utilize for those very standard questions that come up time and time again in the interview. So, for example, if I've spent time thinking about accomplishments that I'm proud of, when they say, what's something that what's a success that you had in your current job? Or what's the thing that what was the biggest success that you had on that on a particular project or in a particular quarter? I have a full pool of moments that I'm proud of that I can pick from and utilize. I don't have to find the most important moment of my life in that moment and improvise it. That's when we start to stumble over our words. But you've got to take the time to get to know yourself and have a bank of stories, an archive, a library of who you are, so that you can dip into that and be prepared for the type of questions that typically come up in the interview process. Another thing that I always like to say, and I stole this from Facebook, they have a great format that they recommend all of their interviewees come prepared with. And that's what they call the STAR format, which is situation, task, action, result. If you can practice answering questions by identifying the situation, identifying the task that you had, the action that you took, and the results of that action, you have outlined a great answer every time. It allows you to be succinct It allows you to avoid word vomit. It allows you to get to the nut of what you're trying to tell the interviewer.
I have a callback. My callback is to MSNBC, because what you're hearing you talk, Farra, reminds me, I'm never going to do another job interview again. But I do some media interviews because I'm an immigration lawyer and that's in the news a lot.
Sure.
And MSNBC has a policy, as far as I've been able to tell from the interviews I've done, where you're going to go on live and they're not going to tell you what the questions are. And so you go to this little room, if you're doing it virtually, and they give you a whiteboard and you're looking at a screen and you see nothing and you don't know what's coming at you. But on the whiteboard, you write your key points, the things that you want to get across. And it's like, no matter what they throw at you in that interview, you've got here, okay, this is one thing I wanted to talk about. This is a talking point. And it sounds a lot like that's a good tip for a job interview.
Absolutely. Something I ask people when I work with them is that question of describe yourself in 3 words. And I think if you can choose what your 3 words are, generally speaking, those 3 words tend to inform most other questions that you'll find yourself answering in an interview. Ooh. So for me, it's organized, empathetic, and driven.
Ooh, pause.
I know.
What are our 3 words? Okay, can we do this for a second?
Do it. Yeah, please.
3 words. Now we're on the spot with it.
Passionate, inspired. Okay, does it need to all be positive?
No, but it doesn't. And the reason why it doesn't is, what is the standard question that people are often most afraid of? This is probably
what's your biggest weakness?
Yeah. Weakness and strength. What's your biggest weakness? What's your biggest strength?
Okay.
If you have given thought to what are the 3 words that describe me, it preps you to be able to answer those questions in such a thoughtful way.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond I'm a perfectionist. I care too much.
Yeah, I work
right?
too much. Yeah.
So like for me, driven, right? I'm driven. So if I'm asked the weakness question, sometimes being driven can be difficult. I'm driven to get the results. Sometimes that makes me act a little too fast. I have to remind myself to go back on being organized, taking a step back, really evaluating the whole situation before I take an action to make sure that even though I'm driving to get the result, we get the right result.
So good.
That is good. Okay, we got it. So my 3rd word is hasty.
You're not hasty, Katie.
I
like it.
Yeah, I've learned it. Now I'm in my 40s and I've learned how to temper my hastiness, but it is one of my key elements. What are your 3?
I know. I was thinking, oh, holy crap! I brought this back on myself.
You did.
Yeah. So powerful.
Yes.
Great.
Vivacious. Resourceful.
Yeah.
Excellent. Resourceful is a good word.
It is a good word.
I am. I'm gonna make it. It's gonna be all right. I'm gonna
make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, this is a good one.
So Farra, as we kind of close out, a couple things.
Yeah.
It sounds like you kind of know your stuff. Is there a way that if people like don't get to just go on live with you and on the spot think of their 3 things? Is this something? How do people connect with you and get your help if they're wanting to interview better?
Absolutely. So I have a website. It's kobercoaching.com. All of my services are noted there, listed there. There is a form where you can fill out what you might be looking for. I do custom coaching. So hop on there and you can use that contact form to book sessions with me. You also can just contact me at farra@kobercoaching.com. Send me an email and I'm happy to connect.
Excellent. Now, okay, for our segment, we've got to give out gold stars.
Oh, I didn't think of mine. Okay, so I have to go last.
Okay, we still don't have our chart. We need to get out a legit chart with stars. Okay,
stickers.
So and we forgot to start to say, we help lawyer moms with Mom Moms Out Loud, help lawyer moms grow as moms, lawyers, and people, right? And Farra, as I understand it, you're a people and mom, but not a lawyer, right?
Not a lawyer.
Not
a lawyer. Plenty of lawyer friends. I took the LSAT and decided very quickly I did not want to be a lawyer after that.
We understand that decision. But do you have a gold star in the people or mom category this week?
I have a gold star in the mom category. I have 2 children. I have a 6-year-old boy and an almost 1-year-old girl. And that's my gold star. We're having her first birthday party on Saturday. And it's been a really exciting, special year. And I'm just really proud of her and of all of us for making it through what I'm sure all of your mom listeners know is a tough year, that first one. So we're all feeling really good.
Oh yeah.
Well, that second one's pretty tough too.
Just any
all of it or all of it.
Another, like say we were trying to make some little TikToks earlier, like let's do the one where they say, "What's your favorite thing about being a mom?" And I was like, well, maybe we should list like what's kind of the hardest thing. There's a lot of hard stuff, is what I was thinking about this morning.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, gold star for me of person. So I went to Costa Rica with my family last week, and I guess my like people gold star is we did stuff on our family trip that I liked. I call it for my own sake. Like I got to enjoy myself. And not just do a trip for everybody else. So in Costa Rica, we got to zip line, whitewater raft, surf, just doing like kind of wild adventure things. I personally really loved and was glad that we had space for that. Extra side benefit of doing that was the family liked it. Like there's not just a real lot of things that everybody in the family kids that like everybody in the family agrees on. But we realized we agree on adventure vacation.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful. Fun.
So I get the lawyer gold star. And I think for me, it's about running a law firm. We've been going through a little bit of like breakdown for a breakthrough labor before delivery situation. And some systems are breaking down, some software stuff. And so we're reimagining, reinventing things as a team. And I've been really proud of the way everybody's been brainstorming ideas and coming together. And I'm excited about what's to come. And so we're using all of this important information about what's not working to figure out a system for the future. And it's, it's like these things can be really kind of hard and stressful and scary and frustrating. And it's like, I thought I had this settled and now I got to fix it.
Yeah.
But that is the game when you run a growing business.
Sometimes things have to break to make them better.
Yep.
That's right. All right. Well, hey, Farra, I believe your info is going to be in the show notes or the description of the video. We'll make sure it's included on we even have an Apple podcast now. And we have real podcasts. If anybody wants to go hit subscribe and I don't know how you say it, go like us or something in there. And
as Nori watches that Sniper Wolf and she always says, hit the like button in the face.
Please hit our like button in the face. Yes. I love that. Or get your kid to hit it. Get your kid to help.
Get your kid to hit it in the face.
And then we'll see you guys next week for another Law Moms Lounge where we chill and hang together on a Friday. I hope everybody has a good weekend. Thank you, Farra, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Bye, guys.